The immediate regret of knowing that the path of least resistance wasn't the most optimal. It was just the most comfortable. And the most comfortable a lot of the times is going to make you feel the most shitty. Because deep down, you are capable of so much that standard, whether you like it or not, is what you're capable of. And if you don't meet even a fraction of that standard that you're quite literally as an individual, as Danny is capable of, then that self-loathing, that shittiness will have no choice but to creep in because you deep down know that you could have been better.
It's something that, like I said, I wish I would have done, but I was that kid that would just literally just play video games all day and didn't really tap into it.
I was gonna say that's most kids in the 21st century, man. Most kids, and we're the tail end of the millennials and the beginning of Gen Z, I think is how it works. And because we're at that paradigm shifting of generations, we're at that crux of going from one to the other. We understand what it was like to have dial-up internet, but only a couple years after that have internet and being able to game. So for us being able to see the exponential transcendence of technology and entertainment fundamentally, it makes sense why, especially if you grow up north of the river and you grow up in at least somewhat of a lower to middle to upper middle class, you're able to experience things like Christmas. You're able to experience things like birthdays. So in such, you end up getting rewarded those same technologies that are evolving alongside your growth and your evolution as a human, to where by the time you're 12 and the new PS2 or whatever at that time came out, it's like, why wouldn't I spend all day playing San Andreas? Why wouldn't I spend all day playing Call of Duty? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and were you there when social media really started to become a thing at like our young age, which I would say, like, for me, I started getting into social media around 2009, which was my 7th grade year. What year did you graduate?
15.
Okay, so yeah, our same year, yeah. So that, like, would you say you were kind of there in the beginning stages too of social media? Like, did you really dive into it at a young age, or were you just kind of like...
So let me ask you this. Do you know what Zanga is?
Zanga? I remember hearing about it, but I never used it.
So that's how far into social media I am. Zanga was MySpace before MySpace.
Okay.
And then MySpace, obviously, were you on MySpace? With top friends and all that? Dude, editing your page, all that stuff, right? Like editing your homepage, have music on the background of your homepage on MySpace and all that stuff. Yeah, I was on social media when I was probably 11, 12. That's when Yahoo Messenger was really popular. What is it?
There was AOL too.
AOL, the AOL Messenger, all that stuff.
Okay.
So, but anyway, yeah.
Here's the insane part. One time do you remember Omegle?
Yeah.
Dude, I was literally just on Omegle one night because I was bored as hell and making music. I was like, I'm going to get on here. And I put the same similar interests, which was TikTok. And literally there was 3 little kids that recognized me.
Really?
3, they recognized, like, are you that guy from TikTok? And I was like, yeah, are you this guy? I'm like people recognize it. It's ironic because in my head, I always wanted that, like, I want people to know who I am. Like, I want to be famous. Like, that's the good side. But at the same time, like, wanting that, there's also that downside of taking criticism. And I know right now, that criticism still hits me. Like, I care about the criticism and I'm not afraid to admit it. Like, I care so much about it.
You should care about the criticism, but you shouldn't care about the criticism to a toxic and dwelling degree, one in which that you become overwhelmed by the criticism because you're too busy looking for outside approval rather than accepting the integrity of your own internal message. And that internal message should be one of, yeah, outside criticism is good and all, but how do I feel at the end of the day?
Getting to that point of starting to recognize my own flaws, and one of my biggest flaws is definitely looking for outside approval, trying to fill in this void that will never be filled by outside approval, and just trying to block all that negativity, or block out the stuff that needs to be blocked out, and being able to recognize that none of us are perfect. We have to just work on what needs to be worked on and accept the flaws that we do have. That it's like, what else can you do? And
you control what you can, but accept what you can't.
Hell yeah. The very first thing you told me, the very first thing you told me when we got in here, and that's something I really try to take to heart every day. Some days I fail, some days I succeed, but just even trying to do that every day, like the last couple days, just freaking out about shit that I don't even know really I should be freaking out about. It's just that, like, when you're by yourself and just having that void, that's kind of a lot of things I've dealt with as a kid, and up to this point, it's just like just self-loathing and dwelling on all this stuff and then believing that it is true.
But that self-loathing in that lack of self-worth nearly always comes from the lack of life experiences to build that self-worth. And for you, think about what we're doing in here now. The nonstop autocorrection we get from developing a deeper sense of self-awareness through messing up in a combo and then recorrecting the combo, those sort of skills and experiences from this point on, the more you do them recurringly, will build the worthiness and will build the self-confidence for when you are alone, you'll be that much more prepared to handle whatever imposter insecurities that would come to the surface. It's just about developing those life experiences and those life skills.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say a lot of my adolescence, I didn't develop a lot of the life experience. I would just, like I said, I would just stay home and just be cooped up in my little pigeon coop playing video games, and that's all I do. I didn't do anything. I didn't experience shit. Like recently, I've been experiencing life, like somewhat life experiences, and it's like hits me like a train. Like what the
The immediate regret of knowing that the path of least resistance wasn't the most optimal. It was just the most comfortable, and the most comfortable a lot of the times is going to make you feel the most shitty. Because deep down, you are capable of so much that standard, whether you like it or not, is what you're capable of. And if you don't meet even a fraction of that standard that you're quite literally as an individual, as Danny is capable of, then that self-loathing, that shittiness will have no choice but to creep in because you deep down know that you could have been better.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just the biggest thing is believing in yourself when you're by yourself, because obviously it's so much easier to believe in yourself when you have that energy around you, hyping you the fuck up and being like, you can do it. Like whenever we're in here working, it's like, I definitely, it creeps in, but it's like, I just have that reassurance. But then when I'm outside by myself, or it's just like, it's so hard to really reassure myself. Cause like, I'm like, are these thoughts really mine? Or is this it? It's like questioning every little movement, every little thought I'm having. Is this right? I don't really believing in myself. And like, I know for myself is that when it comes to figuring out what I really want to do, I know I want to be an entertainer. An entertainer is something that I've definitely seen myself doing. Is just now believing in myself and taking the initiative to actually apply it.
Taking the initiative, you're a genius.
But also thinking, if I'm not doing that, do I really want this? Because like right now, I don't even truly know what I truly don't know what I want just yet.
You realize that's okay though, right? You don't have to have the answer right now.
And that's where I would say like, yes, but it's also the fact of with social media,
you feel like you should.
I feel like I should because of the people like that the content I absorb, I see it and I'm like, oh, these people are doing great. This guy who's younger than me doing great. I'm like, what am I doing in my life? Like I should be doing that. But I'm like, I have to like and just having to reassure and be like, look, some people don't get successful until their 30s, 40s, 50s, like, but just being so consumed in that content of like these people at a younger age.
And you comparing yourself to other people is the fundamental problem. You needing that outside approval is the fundamental problem. You digesting that garbage external stimuli that makes you feel like that is the fundamental problem. Like instead of I don't follow, and ever since I've been on social media, I've never followed celebrities. I followed people, if they happen to be a celebrity, that contribute some sort of information that I want to digest. Now, let's just say I wanted to digest Kardashian information. Then I would digest it. But then I would have to ask myself, why do I want to digest that information? Ultimately, if you're digesting information that makes you feel that way, maybe it's time to reevaluate the content that you are absorbing. That way you can mitigate any external excuses to put you in that negative mindset. Otherwise, you should have the developed confidence and self-sustained efficiency in your worthiness to where if you are going to follow those people who make you feel like that, you're able to cut the feeling of worthlessness of comparing to their situation right in the bud before it can start affecting your psyche.
And some people, they're able to do that, but some people just absorb everything.
I'm the same way. So you know what I did? Force myself to not follow any of those people. I literally started following for the longest on Instagram, Twitter, and even Facebook. On Facebook, I'm still a part of like history groups and like philosophy groups and like book groups on quote groups and stuff like that. On Instagram, I follow quote pages and I follow like fitness pages and I follow science pages, nature pages. I follow things that I want to absorb. And people get so caught up in acting like they're not in control of the stimuli that they're absorbing. At the end of the day, you're deciding who to follow. At the end of the day, you're deciding who to like. You're deciding what to like. You're deciding to stream that album or to watch that video.
It's a decision at the end of the day.
It's a decision on what video you're going to watch and what music you're going to stream.
Understanding what information needs to be absorbed and what can't, because I just kind of take it all.
I was going to say discriminating against worthy information from non. It's similar to who you follow on social media. It's discerning and discriminating against worthy information from non. So if somebody tells you something, dismiss the worthless information and just absorb the worthy information. If you have the ability to click who you follow and who you like on social media, choose to click and follow people that you deem worthy. And if you deem watching the Kardashians as worthy, God bless you. That's fine. That's you. Do your thing. I ain't going to judge you. But just make sure you're cool and happy with that. That's all. And you're okay with receiving that sort of stimuli and information.
And yeah, and you know a lot of people deep down, they don't, but it's so comfortable that it's so comfortable. You're just like, it's like, this is all I know and it feels good, but it's like, I'm guilty of it for sure. Like
everybody is, man.